All right, welcome to the return of the rundown. Today's topic is going to be on digital hustle, secrets that they don't teach. And the theme for this live stream is going to be unmasking the unspoken truths of digital entrepreneurship. What the experts won't tell you and what real digital business is, what the builders know. I want to open up and let you know that over one third of US professionals are now juggling a digital side hustle with approximately um, $2 trillion really in the global economy. And Gen Z is really leading the charge in the global gig economy. Today, we're going to understand the numbers behind the rise of the digital hustle, which is a movement that's reshaping how professionals earn, build value, and enhance their network connections. Whether it's launching an ads based podcast, selling a digital product, or freelancing online, the hustle's real. And guess what's booming? According to a recent money.com data survey, nearly 40% of US adults now earn extra income through side gigs. Now it's roughly 80 plus million Americans. And among millennials, the number jumps to 50%. Gen Z is even more ambitious with nearly 70% actively seeking side hustles and 64% planning to monetize a project on social media within the next year. Globally, the digital hustle is more than a trend, it's an economic force. The side hustle economy was valued at nearly 600 billion in 2024, and projections suggested it could exceed 2 trillion by 2032. Now, nearly 3 in 4 side hustlers, they balance their gig work with their full-time job, and they spend an average of 8 hours a week on their side projects. And it's not just about money. 40% say that they started a side hustle to uh, earn and also learn a new skill, while 30% dream of becoming their own boss. From mobile car washing to digital coaching, the fastest growing hustles are powered by low startup cost and high creativity. So if you're tuning in and thinking about launching your own digital hustle, know this: you're not just chasing a dream, you're joining a global movement. So let's talk about the myth of overnight success and why becoming viral is really not a strategy. Now, one of the most seductive myths in the current digital age is overnight success. You've all seen the headlines. The TikTok creator they go viral in 24 hours, and then a startup, they land $1 million after one tweet. But what those stories rarely show is the years of quiet work, failed experiments, and also relentless and restless iterations that led up to that moment. The truth is, becoming viral is not a strategy. It's really a byproduct. It's a spark that ignites you after you stack the kindling for months, sometimes even years. Most creators, entrepreneurs, and professionals who blow up have been building the dark long before the spotlight found them. In fact, chasing becoming viral can be a dangerous distraction. It tempts you to optimize for attention instead of value, to mimic trends instead of mastering your craft. The algorithm might reward that moment, but it rarely sustains a movement. So, what does? Consistency, clarity, community. The creators who last are the ones who build systems, not just moments. They treat every post, every podcast, or even every product like a brick in a legacy, not a lottery ticket. Now, let's talk about the hidden grind behind effortless brands. We got to peel back the curtain on what people often call effortless brands. You know the ones: polished visuals, magnetic messaging, seamless delivery. From the outside, it looks like they have it, but behind every effortless brand is a mountain of unseen effort: late night revisions, failed launches, awkward pivots, and years of refining tone, voice, and value. The truth is, effortless is engineered. It's a result of a strategic clarity, an emotional intelligence, and also a relentless iteration. These brands aren't lucky, they're disciplined. They've built systems that make excellence repeatable, not accidental. And what most people miss is the invisible grind The hundreds of micro decisions that shape a brand's identity, from choosing the right font to rewriting a tagline for the 10th time. Every detail is intentional. These creators study their audience, they test their formats, and they evolve consistently. They know that consistency builds trust and trust builds legacy. So when someone says they make it look easy, and what they're really seeing is a result of years spent making it work. If you're building your own brand, don't chase effortless, chase alignment. When your message, mission, and medium are in sync, the polish will follow. So let's talk about digital identity versus digital impact. And we're going to, in the aspect of building substance really before style. You first have to unpack a very powerful distinction: digital identity versus digital impact. Your digital identity is how you show up online, your visuals, your voice, your brand aesthetics. It's a curated surface, but the digital impact, that's what people feel and remember after engaging with you, your work. It's the value you deliver to transform, and also the trust that you build. In a world that's currently obsessed with style, impact is what lasts. You can have the slickest logo and the most cinematic intro reel, but if your content lacks depth, your audience won't stick around. Impact is earned through substance, through showing up consistently, solving real problems, and speaking with clarity and conviction. That's why building substance before style isn't just smart, it's really strategic. Substance gives a style its meaning. And when your message is clear, your visuals amplify it. When your mission is strong, your brand becomes magnetic. Too many creators reverse the order. They invest in polish before purpose. But the most really resonating brands are the ones that move industries and inspire loyalty. Now, you want to start with the truth. Really, they ask, what do I stand for? Who do I serve? What change am I here to make? Style evolves, trends fade, but substance is timeless. So if you're building your digital presence, start with the impact you want to leave. The identity will follow, and it will be rooted in something of value. So you want to avoid the trap of aesthetic over value. You want to get real about digital identity versus digital impact. Your digital identity is the surface, your colors, your fonts, your filters, your vibe, your project outline, and it's really what people see. But the digital impact, that's what people feel. It's the value you deliver, the problems you solve, and the clarity you bring, as I said. Now, you want to make sure that you're not too heavily invested in aesthetics because you're not really focused on value. So you have a lot of times creators that will chase that perfect logo, the trendiest layout, and the most cinematic intro. But really what you want to ask is, what am I actually offering? So a beautiful brand with no substance is like a billboard for an empty store. It might get attention, but it won't earn trust. In avoiding the aesthetic trap, you want to anchor your brand in purpose. So you want to ask yourself, what do I want my audience to do? What do I want them to feel or understand after engaging with my content? So when you lead with value, your aesthetic becomes a tool, not a distraction. And the most powerful digital brands, they're not just visually appealing, they're emotionally resonant and strategically aligned. They build loyalty because they solve real problems and they speak with being authentic. So before you polish your visuals, sharpen your message, build the impact, and then design the identity to reflect it. That's how you create a brand that doesn't just look good, but does good. All right, before we move into segment number 2, and we're going to be talking about the unseen systems, this next segment is brought to you by the Digital Revolution.
Are you ready to decode the future of business, tech, and strategy? Then tune in to the Digital Revolution with Jim Kunkel, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on innovation, leadership, and the real-world hustle behind digital transformation. From global trends to local impact, Jim brings sharp insights and bold conversations that challenge the status quo. Available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and wherever you get your podcasts. The Digital Revolution with Jim Kunkel. Listen, learn, lead.
Okay, as I mentioned in segment number 2, we're going to talk about the unseen systems. We're going to focus on automation is not equal to delegation. So let's talk about AI. What can AI do and what it can't? And I want to first clear up a misconception. Automation is not the same as delegation. AI can automate repetitive tasks. It can transcribe audio, it can sort data, it can generate summaries, it can even draft content. It's really brilliant at pattern recognition, speed, and scale. But when it comes to delegation, that's about trust, judgment, and ownership. So when you delegate to a human, you're really handing over responsibility. You're also handing over nuance and also decision making. AI can assist at the current time, but it doesn't own the outcomes. It doesn't understand currently the context, the way you do what you do, and it can't replace the emotional intelligence, strategic foresight, or ethical reasoning that real leadership demands. That's why knowing what AI can't do is just as important as knowing what it can do. AI won't really create your brand soul, and it won't challenge your assumptions. You want to read the room, or you want to make a tough call when the data is unclear. AI cannot do this at the current time. It can suggest, but it can't lead. So if you're building a digital workflow, think of AI as your co-pilot, not your captain. Use it to free up bandwidth, not to outsource vision. The most effective creators and leaders use AI to amplify their strengths, not to replace their judgment. Automation is a tool. Delegation is a relationship. And knowing the difference is what keeps your brand human, resilient, and importantly, real. So when it comes to smart workflows versus lazy shortcuts, we want to look at the difference between smart workflows and lazy shortcuts. Because in a digital hustle, what you build matters just as much as what you build. Smart workflows are intentional systems designed to save time without sacrificing quality. They're built on clarity, repeatability, and alignment with your goals. Whether it's batching content, using templates, or automating routine tasks, smart workflows help you scale without losing your voice. They're the backbone of sustainable creativity. When it comes to lazy shortcuts, on the other hand, they're quick fixes. They often create more problems than they solve. And they skip strategy, they ignore nuance, and they usually lead to inconsistent output or brand confusion. The danger with lazy shortcuts is that they feel productive in the moment, but they erode trust over time. Copy pasting someone else's format, skipping research, or relying on generic AI prompts might get you a post out the door, but it won't build authority. Smart workflows require upfront effort, defining your brand, its tone, and also mapping your audience's journey. You also want to consider building reusable assets that reflect your values. But once they're in place, they really free you to focus on what really matters, and that's creating impact. So if you're building a digital brand, don't just ask, how fast can I do this? Ask, how well can I repeat this? That's the difference between a hustle and also building a legacy. Now, for platform algorithms and gatekeeping, here's how visibility is really earned in this aspect. Visibility isn't gifted by algorithms. It's earned through engagement, consistency, and strategic alignment with platform behavior. Gatekeeping hasn't disappeared, it's just been automated. Let's talk about the invisible gatekeepers of the digital world, platform algorithms. These systems decide what content gets seen, when, and by whom. They're not neutral. They're engineered to prioritize engagement, to prioritize retention, and also relevance. Now, that means that your content isn't judged solely on its quality, but judged on interaction. A beautifully produced video or a thoughtful post could vanish into the void if it doesn't spark likes, comments, or watch time. This is the new gatekeeping, not editors or executives, but the algorithms that reward resonance over polish. So how is visibility really earned? Through strategic consistency. Creators who understand platform rhythms, when to post and how to prompt engagement. They know how to build a community. They're the ones who really have breakthroughs. It's not about chasing trends blindly. It's about lining your message with what the algorithm values without really losing your voice. And that means asking questions, sharing behind the scene moments, and creating content that invites response. The platforms don't owe you reach. You have to earn it by showing up, connecting deeply, and adapting smartly. Visibility isn't luck, it's a system. And once you learn how it works, you can stop chasing becoming viral and start building a momentum. So, shadow metrics, and this is when engagement that doesn't convert. Let's talk about shadow metrics, the kind of engagement that looks impressive, but actually really doesn't move the needle. You've seen it, thousands of likes, a flood of comments, maybe even a viral moment. But when you check on the back end, there's no sales, there's no signups, there's no meaningful growth, and no real activity. That's the trap of platform algorithms. They reward visibility, not necessarily the viability. These systems are designed to amplify content that keeps users scrolling, not content that builds your business. So while you might be winning the attention game, you could be losing the conversion game. That's the danger of mistaking engagement for impact. Gatekeeping hasn't disappeared. It's just really been rebranded. Algorithms now decide who gets reach, and they often favor entertainment over education, controversy over clarity. So if your content doesn't spark dopamine, it might not even get seen, even if it's deeply valuable. That's why creators and professionals need to build beyond the metrics. Focus on alignment, not just the applause. You really want to ask, is my content attracting the right audience? Is it driving the actions that matter? Because shadow metrics can inflate your ego and also deflate your strategy. Real impact comes from resonance, not just reaction. And in a world of algorithmic gatekeepers, your best bet is to build trust, not just traction. So as we move into the third segment, this is brought to you by Distilled Discussions.
This is your invitation to the heart of the coatings and corrosion conversation, Distilled Discussions, happening Thursday, November 13th in Fort Worth, Texas. Join top minds from across the industry for a dynamic panel session and high-impact networking that goes beyond the surface. We're talking real insights, real connections, and real opportunities to elevate your technical game. If you're serious about asset protection, innovation, and professional growth, this is where you need to be. Register now. Fort Worth, November 13th. Distilled Discussions, where expertise meets opportunity.
So for our third segment, we're going to talk about monetization. First thing I have to cover is really a freebie funnel trap. And this is when giving away value backfires. So let's talk about the freebie funnel trap. It's a well-intentioned strategy that could really quietly sabotage your brand. And the idea is simple. Give away value to build trust. It could also attract leads and convert followers into customers. And yes, generosity can be powerful, but when your audience starts expecting everything from you for free, you've trained them to undervalue your expertise. The funnel becomes a loop, freebie after freebie with no clear path to paid engagement. Instead of building authority, you become really a risk as a resource that's appreciated, but never, ever really invested in. So the real danger is dilution. When you give away too much without boundaries, your premium offerings lose edge. Your audience might love your content, but they won't see the need to pay for it more if they're already receiving the best of what you offer. Smart creators can set thresholds. Free content sparks curiosity. Paid content delivers transformation. The goal isn't just to be generous, but it's to be strategic. Give enough to demonstrate your value, but hold back enough to preserve your worth. Because then, when everything is free, nothing feels premium. And in the digital hustle, your time, your insight, and your expertise deserve more than applause. They deserve commitment. Let's talk about building trust without bait. There also is a subtle trap related to building trust with bait. Because in a digital hustle, not all generosity is strategic. As I mentioned earlier with the freebie funnel, it often starts with good intentions. You want to offer something valuable to earn trust and spark engagement. But when you look at a freebie as a bait, something that's really designed to lure people in rather than to serve you, you really have risks, the road to trust that you're trying to build. Audience today's, they're really savvy and they can sense when a free resource is just a thinly veiled pitch. And when every download leads to a hard sale, the relationship shifts from trust to transaction. You're no longer seen as a guide, you're seen as a gatekeeper. So true trust is built without bait. It's earned through clarity, consistency, and genuine value, not through emotionally working on people. That means offering insights that stand on their own, not just teasers for a paid product. It means showing up with substance, even when there's no immediate payoff. The most respected brands don't give, they teach, they empower, and they connect. They build trust by being useful, not by being clever. So if you're designing a funnel, ask yourself, is this a freebie, a gift, or a gimmick? Because when your audience feels respected, not baited, they're far more likely to invest, not just in your product, but into your mission. So, pricing power and psychological anchors. And this is going to really focus on why most digital entrepreneurs undercharge. Digital entrepreneurs undercharge because they lack strategic pricing anchors, leading their audiences to undervalue their expertise and offerings. And psychological pricing isn't just about numbers, it's really about perception. So let's talk about pricing power and the psychology behind it. Because in a digital space, when you charge, what you charge says as much as about your brand as what you deliver. Most digital entrepreneurs undercharge not because their work lacks value, but because they fail to frame it as a value more effectively. This is where psychological anchoring comes in. You create a reference point that makes your mid-tier offer feel more reasonable, even desirable. Without that anchor, your audience has no context, and your pricing feels arbitrary. That's when hesitation creeps in and conversations stall. And undercharging also stems from fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of losing followers, the fear of seeming to be greedy. But here's the truth. Pricing is positioning. If your rates are too low, people assume your value is too low. Strategic pricing isn't just about being the cheapest, it's about being the clearest. When you use anchors, contrast tiers, and justify your premium options with real value, you shift the conversation from, is it worth it, to how can I afford it? That's pricing power. So if you're a digital entrepreneur, stop asking, what will they pay? And start asking, what is your transformation worth? Because when your pricing reflects your impact, your audience doesn't just buy, they commit. Now, here's some invisible signals that shape buyer behavior. As I mentioned earlier, pricing alone isn't about numbers. It's really about perception. So every price tag sends a message. A $29 course says entry level, while a $2,900 program says transformational. These signals are psychological anchors. They're reference points that help buyers interpret value. And here's a twist. Most digital entrepreneurs don't realize that they're sending signals even when they're silent. A lack of pricing tiers. And that signals limited options, no testimonials or guarantees. And that signals risk. Even your design choices, your fonts, your colors, your layouts, that can imply whether your offer is a premium budget or somewhere in between. Pricing power comes from controlling these anchors with intention. When you introduce a high ticket option first, your anchor expectations upward, making your mid tier often feel very acceptable. When you bundle services by offering limited time bonuses, you create urgency and perceived value. But if your pricing feels random or it lacks context, buyers really hesitate. They don't just ask, can I afford this? They ask, do I trust this? That's why clarity, contrast, and confidence matter. Invisible signals shape emotional responses, and emotional responses drive conversion. So if you want pricing power, don't just set a number, create a narrative, make every detail reinforce really the transformation that you're offering. And that's how you turn pricing into persuasion. Now, our final segment is brought to you by MTech. This October, the future of materials, coatings, and corrosion technology takes center stage at MTech 2025, happening October 26th through 29th in stunning Croatia. Join global experts, innovators, and industry leaders for 4 days of cutting-edge insights, networking, and technical breakthroughs. And I'm proud to be presenting my latest paper, AI Predictive Modeling for Coating Performance and Degradation, which covers how artificial intelligence is reshaping asset protection. Croatia, October 26th to 29th. Register now for MTech 2025, where innovation meets global impact. And our final segment is going to be on legacy versus hype. We're going to talk about the long game of reputation and really how digital footprints become brand equity. So let's talk about legacy versus hype, because in the current digital age, reputation isn't built in a moment. It's really built in motion. Hype is loud, fast, and fleeting. It's the viral spike, the trending moment, the dopamine hit of instant attention. But legacy is quiet, it's consistent, and it's cumulative. It's a result of showing up with value, with clarity, and with integrity over time. While hype might get you noticed, legacy gets you remembered. And the long game of reputation, what you leave behind matters more than what you launch. Every tweet, post, podcast, and comment contributes to your digital footprint. And that footprint becomes your brand identity. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it, how often you show up, and how well you serve. Audiences don't just follow creators, they archive them. They remember how you made them feel and how you handled criticism and also how you evolved. That's why legacy-driven creators focus on alignment over applause. They build systems, not just moments. They know that trust compounds and that every digital interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal in the bank of reputation. So if you're building a brand, ask yourself, am I chasing the hype or am I creating legacy? Because in the end, it's not the noise that lasts, it's really the narrative. So why does consistency beat charisma? We want to break it down because this is one of the most overlooked truths in digital branding, is that consistency beats charisma. Charisma might grab attention. It's magnetic, it's exciting, and it often sparks something that draws people in. But it's the consistency that builds trust. In the long game of reputation, showing up reliably with value, clarity, and integrity, that matters far more than dazzling your audience once. Charisma can create a moment. Consistency creates a momentum. And when it becomes to legacy, momentum is everything. Because hype fades, trends shift, algorithms change, but a consistent voice, message, and presence, that really compounds over time. And that's how digital footprints become brand equity, through repeatable proof of purpose. The creators and professionals who build legacy aren't always the flashiest. They're the ones who keep showing up even when the metrics dip or the spotlight moves on. They build systems, not just moments. And that quiet discipline becomes their loudest signal. So if you're building a brand, Don't just aim to impress or aim to endure, because in the end, it's how brightly you burn in one moment, but how steadily you shine over time. So, when it comes to exit strategy thinking, and this is related to building something worth selling or sustaining. We want to talk about exit strategy thinking because whether you're building a brand or business or even a digital platform, the end game really matters. Too many creators focus solely on growth without asking the deeper question, what am I building towards? An exit strategy isn't just about selling. It's about creating something that's transferable, scalable, and sustainable. If your brand depends entirely on your personal presence, it's hard to sell. If your systems are chaotic or undocumented, it's hard to sustain. So the goal is to build something that can thrive without you, whether that means passing it on, selling it, or stepping back while it runs. That's why legacy-driven entrepreneurs think in terms of assets, not just content. They build intellectual property, audience trust, and operational success that holds value beyond the moment. A podcast with evergreen episodes, a course with repeatable outcomes, a brand with clear positioning. These are all assets that can be monetized. They can be licensed and they can be scaled. Exit strategy, thinking force clarity. And what am I really offering? Who could run this without me? And what would make this irresistible to a buyer or resilient for a long haul? Whether you plan to sell or sustain, the mindset is the same. Build with intention, document with value, and design with durability. Because the best exits aren't escapes, they're evolutions. So when it comes to legacy-driven entrepreneurs, what should be prioritized? When you have legacy-driven entrepreneurs, their approach to exit strategy, this is really thinking with the long lens. They're really not just building for profit. They're building for really for being a permanent. That means prioritizing systems, intellectual property, and brand clarity that can outlive their direct involvement. So instead of chasing short-term wins, they focus on creating assets that compound over time. It could be with evergreen content, scalable products, documented processes, and a reputation rooted in trust. Their goal isn't just to exit, it's to leave something worth inheriting, worth acquiring, or worth sustaining. Whether they sell, they license, or they pass the torch, they want their work to continue delivering value long after they step back. What sets legacy-driven entrepreneurs apart is their obsession with transferability. They ask, can someone else run this? Can this brand thrive without me? Is the mission clear enough to be carried forward? And they prioritize clarity over charisma, systems over spontaneity, and impact over ego. Their exit strategy is an escape. It's a design principle. Every decision they make, from pricing to partnerships, is filtered through the lens of durability. Because for them, the real win isn't just building something successful, it's building something significant, something that educates, something that empowers, and something that endures. And that's the legacy. And also, too, that's the mindset that turns a digital hustle into generational assets. So here's a couple things to really look at. As I mentioned earlier about the pricing, a lot of times you'll have a digital product or maybe a service that you're doing. It could be educational seminar service, and you're doing, how can I really have the largest crowd? And you severely discount it. So what you really want to do is look at what value you bring and offer it at a fair price based on market research. So don't undervalue anything that you're doing. And really, when you think about the current hustle economy, we're moving away from the side hustle being the Uber and some other types of small businesses. Get involved in with becoming a digital nomad, because it gives you the opportunity to do a lot of things. A lot of digital nomads actually have online businesses. They can travel anywhere in the world as long as they have a good Wi-Fi connection. They have a great opportunity to kind of do the best of both worlds, enjoy their life, but also make money at the same time. And remember, you really, if you're not building systems, you're building stress. So it's important to focus on systems, value, and creating something for the long term. The idea would be that I create my digital business and I hand that over to someone else, or maybe I have an opportunity to sell that. And that is a great position to be in. And really think about this, that your brand is what people say when you're not streaming or they're not seeing your content. So it's important to have that presence of mind after the fact. So I really appreciate this opportunity to have this conversation with you on the rundown. Let me give you a little bit of background for those who might be seeing this for the first time. The rundown is a good opportunity for me to do talk about business news. I could be talking about trending topics, which this is a very big trending topic right now with the state of the global economy, and also the expansion of artificial intelligence and other intelligent technologies. A digital gig is a good thing, and it's really going to open the door for a lot of solo entrepreneurs and people looking to create businesses that are all digital businesses. In addition to these type of topics, I can also cover related stuff to business culture and also some aspects of news chat as well. But it will be predominantly in the flavor, let's say, of business and professional entrepreneurship, professional topics, and things like that. So please give this a like. And if you feel like this should be shared with others, you can share this content with others. Just send it to them. And I appreciate all the support. So let me say thank you very much. Have a good rest of your morning, your afternoon, or evening, no matter where in the world you're watching this live stream. Thank you.